I'd also, well, I'll get to that in a moment, but traditionally we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are able, please stand and face the flag, which is toward the back of the hall, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd also like to acknowledge before we get started that there are several people who were not on this stage this past spring who are with us tonight. So first of all, congratulations and welcome to Michaela Wyman Colombo. This, of course, is her first town meeting as a member of the Select Board, and I would offer a tip of the hat to her and Greg McKelvey, seated here with the Finance Committee, for the quality and respectfulness of their campaigns. We also have 4 new members of the 7-member Finance Committee, 3 of whom are with us tonight, and they include Richard Weiner. This is since the last Springtown meeting. Richard Weiner, Jamie Shue, and Jeff Gorman. Lee Smith was unable to attend tonight. Now to the business at hand. You'll find some of the town meeting rules in the back of your blue books, if you care to look. Discussion of articles is encouraged. When I recognize a speaker, please keep your comments or questions pertinent to the scope of the article. Be as concise and non-redundant as possible, and of course, be respectful and courteous. Here we go. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth, I am directed to notify and summon the inhabitants of the town of Mashpee who are qualified to vote in the elections to meet at the Mashpee High School on Monday, the 17th day of October 2022 at 7 p.m. for the following purposes: to act on the articles contained in the following warrant. Mr. Whedon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to dispense with the reading of the annual town meeting warrant articles.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article 1, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $150,000 from revenue available to appropriation to the Waterway Professional and Technical Expenses account.
Second.
Wastewater, sorry.
Motion is made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article Number 1 by a vote of 4-0.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Article 2, Mr. O'Hara.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of Try it again. Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $1,254,450 from wastewater stabilization fund to the temporary borrowing outside of 2.5 account.
Second.
Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 2 by a vote of 7-0.
Is there any discussion on Article 2? Seeing none, this motion requires a 2/3 vote. We'll try for unanimous. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed is unanimous. Article 3, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of $1,268,950 from the Wastewater Infrastructure Investment Fund to the temporary borrowing outside 2.5 account.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 3 by a vote of 7-0.
Discussion. This does not require a two-thirds vote, but we'll still try for unanimous. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say no. No. That was not my vote. Unanimous. Article number 4, Ms. Wyman Colombo.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to approve Article 4 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 4 by a vote of 5-0.
Any discussion on Article 4? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That's unanimous. By the way, Debbie Kay tells us there are 156 voters here tonight.
How many?
What was it?
My compliments to those of you that withstood the brutal weather. Article 5, Mr. Whedon.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Article 5 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 5 by a vote of 5-0.
Is there a discussion on Article 5? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say no. That's unanimous. If you do need to speak, by the way, as you probably noticed, there are 2 microphones in the center aisle.
Still can't hear them.
Article number 6, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 6 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 6 by a vote of 4-1.
Thank you. This article also requires a two-thirds vote. Let's try for unanimous. All those in favor say, well, is there any discussion, first of all? Sorry about that. Even unskilled, untrained moderators make mistakes. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. It's unanimous. Article number 7, Mr. O'Hara.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article number 7 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 7 by a vote of 4-0.
And is there a recommendation from the Planning Board?
Yes, Mr. Moderator. Mary
Ms. Wagan.
Mary Wagan, Chair of the Planning Board. After holding a public hearing on September 29th, 2022, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend town meeting approve warrant Article 7.
Further discussion? This requires a two-thirds vote, being a zoning article. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Passes unanimously. Number 8, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 8 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 8 by a vote of 4-0.
And the Planning Board.
Mary Wagan, Chair of the Planning Board. After holding a public hearing on September 29th, 2022, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend town meeting approve warrant Article 8.
Further discussion? A two-thirds vote required again here. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. It's unanimous. Article number 9, Ms. Wyman Colombo.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 9 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 9 by a vote of 4-0.
And the ubiquitous Planning Board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mary Wagon, Chair of the Planning Board. After holding a public hearing on September 29th, 2022, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend town meeting approve warrant article number 9.
Further discussion on Article 9. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. It's unanimous. Article number 10, Mr. Whedon.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 10 as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 10 by a vote of 7-0.
And the Planning Board.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mary Wagon, Chair of the Planning Board. After holding a public hearing on September 29th, 2022, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend town meeting approve warrant article number 10.
Further discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This is a two-thirds vote also. Those opposed say no. Unanimous. Thank you. Article 11, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move the town vote to approve Article 11 as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 11 by a vote of 7-0.
Planning Board.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mary Wagon, Chair of the Planning Board. After holding a public hearing on September 29th, 2022, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend town meeting approve warrant article 11.
Any further discussion on Article 11? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It's unanimous. Moving on to Article 12, Mr. O'Hara.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to approve Article 12 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 12 by a vote of 7-0.
Is there any discussion on Article 12? Seeing none, and therefore hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. It's unanimous. Article 13, Ms. Sherman.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve the first sentence of Article 13 as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 13 by a vote of 7-0.
Is there any discussion on Article 13?
Yes.
If you could give your name and street address.
Hello. I'm Kate Mildy, Black Watch Way. I'm here on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees. I would like to clarify the wording of Article 13. The Finance Committee has implied that the action will allow the library to increase its hours of operations and maintain its state certification long-term. The passage of this article tonight is a positive and needed step to strengthen the library staff and current staffing levels. However, the impact that these 3 hours will have on library operations is minimal. This additional slight increase for one existing position will not result in any increase in operating hours, and certainly not facilitate a weekly increase of the 8 hours necessary to achieve the 50-hour per week service benchmark. I thank you for your support tonight and look forward to further dialogue with the town leaders and community members to work towards achieving our future goals at the May town meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Unanimous. Article 14, Ms. Wyman-Colombo.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to indefinitely postpone Article 14.
Second.
Motions to indefinitely postpone an article are debatable. Does anybody have any, well, first of all, I guess the Finance Committee recommendation would not apply if we're going to vote to postpone it, so we'll bypass that step. Is there any discussion on indefinitely postponing Article 14? Seeing none, all those, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Fudala. If you could approach the microphone.
Go to the mic.
Mr. Fudala's question, he lives at address unknown, is why?
Where's Ashley? Do you want Ashley to get?
I can resist. Can everyone hear me? Okay. To Mr. Fidela's question, the answer is the town is taking a look at focusing on horsepower rather than a more broader approach. And after listening to a lot of people speak to DNR officials as well as other town officials, we felt that this was in the best interest as far as getting it right the first time, so there was no potential of it being rejected and coming back or having to wait 3 years, I should say. So we are focusing on a horsepower limit, which would certainly permit certain fishing and other activities, but it would not result in the degrading of the pond to the extent that it has over the past few years with no limits. So after speaking with a lot of citizens that had concerns, legitimate concerns, we felt that this was a reasonable compromise, and it was coming up at the 11th hour. So end result, after discussion with staff, that was the suggestion.
Any further discussion?
Virginia Scharfenberg, 3 Pequot Ave. So I understand the why, and when will it be brought up again? Does that mean that it'll be May of next year, or it's truly indefinite?
May.
Further discussion on Article 14, indefinitely postponing. Hearing none, all those in favor of indefinite postponement say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. It's unanimous. Article 15, Mr. Whedon.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town vote to approve Article 15 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Second.
Finance Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 15 by a vote of 7-0.
Any discussion on Article 15? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Unanimous. Article 16, the final article, is by petition.
Gary and Homer, 66 Nahoyden Road. I move that the town vote to approve Article 16 as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto."
Could everyone hear that?
No.
Let me just reiterate then. He made a motion to move the article as printed in the warrant, with the exception of the phrase, "or take any other action relating thereto." Is there a second? Discussion of Finance Committee, sorry.
The Finance Committee, Mr. Moderator, recommends approval of Article 16 by a vote of 7-0.
Now discussion.
Mary Ann Gansmuller, 202 Rock Landing. Just curious if this is just we're going to pave and plow the roads, or are we saying we're going to take over the drains as well?
Does anyone have an answer to that question? Mr. Fadala indicates in the affirmative.
Sorry, if nobody else wants to say it, this is the first of 2 articles that are required to have the town take over a private road. This one is just funding the design, or the survey plan, laying out the road layouts. We'll have to come back later for the cost of actually reconstructing and taking over the roads. "60 Willan Road."
Thank you for clarifying that for the record, Mr. Fadala. So, there'll be an early adjournment party at your house afterwards, I believe, right? Any further discussion? All those in favor of Article 16, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That passes unanimously. And next order of business would be a motion to adjourn. And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming. You can still catch Chronicle on Channel 5.
Well done, Mr. Moderator.
First time.